said that if he hadn't been in prison, Suge wouldn't have been able to run around LA with all the Bloods and everything else like that and run shit the way he was doing.
If he would have been out?
If he would have been out.
Were you out when death row started to build up and corrupt started?
Not at all.
You were in jail the whole time?
It never happened when I had no death row.
What do you mean?
I love Suge to death, but he definitely wouldn't have been moving around LA like that. Yeah, he's probably good. He got some power.
Yeah.
He got power, yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
What it do, y'all? It's Top Media TV, man. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Make sure y'all don't forget to like and subscribe with the notification bell. So that was KEEFE D reacting to Big U, saying how he had some power back then in LA, and if he would have been home, Suge Knight wouldn't have been moving around LA like how he was. Y'all know Big U got on Black TV and said, you know, people wasn't mentioning Bloods or any of that in LA back in the 90s. So if he was home, Suge and his crew wasn't smashing on nobody. You know, they stomped and killed a Rolling 60 at a party, if y'all don't remember, and Big U was not home at that time. So Death Row was definitely doing damage, man, in the 90s, man. And let me know what y'all think. I mean, it kind of seems to echo what Trey D said about Big U when, you know, Trey D was asked the same question, and Trey D said, yeah, Suge Knight would have met resistance had Big U been on the streets. This is what Trey D said, y'all, for those that don't remember.
You wasn't saying blood. You wasn't wearing no red at that time. That wasn't happening. And you definitely weren't moving like that without major situations. You know what I mean? And I think what was able to give rise to Suge, to the growth in Suge to move like he was the riots. The unity from the riots and dudes not tripping and on the game on each other, that's really what gave rise to Death Row. More people started moving in like they was moving, but nah.
Big U was a monster in the streets at that time. You know, he still has a very high level of respect. Not saying he lost any of it, but then he was more reactionary and proactive with the cripping. And, you know, 60s are a major force. And I guess he's probably saying corrupt wouldn't have been over there, maybe, to make that addition to Death Row. And at the same time, you know, Suge, like he said, the riots, the peace treaty, you know, that gave an opening to a lot of people to start socializing with one another.
Right, because Death Row had Bloods and Crips.
Right.
The Bloods were Suge's crew. But the talent were all...
That's his voice. So, but it was predominantly Crips. And I just take it that he's saying Suge would have definitely met a whole lot more resistance the way he was pushing around town. You know what I'm saying? You know, the big, you know, almost like, what's that figure? I told you I'm not a big movie person. Was it the Punisher or somebody like that, you know, so somebody like that, you know, and it's like he would have been challenged because, you know, U's equally as big, you know, as far as physical stature, and, you know, he indulges in that kind of activity. You know, I know firsthand, I was in 4800, the Crip module with Big U back in the days, you know, and also I was in another module with Big U, was about to get into it with a few dudes on the phone. You know, they seen, you know, one of my tattoos had their neighborhood crossed out, and, you know, it was finna be an issue right there on the phone, and Big U was like, look, homie, y'all want to get down? We can go down the road. Y'all gonna give him a head up, because he had knew me from 4800 and he know my credentials. You know, he like, all right, I can't let that happen. And they were some of his little homies, but from another clique, you know, and you know, they didn't want the head up, you know, so it was just like, well, y'all beat it. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't going to let y'all jump him. So, you know, he's a real good friend of mine, you know what I'm saying? Because it could have went bad. But, you know, hey, that's how it is. But I know he's saying that he would have met a lot more resistance had he been on the streets pushing the way he was pushing, because it's only natural if you're a major figure in the force and you're on the opposite side of the color spectrum, then, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna definitely push against you.
Right. So
Vlad, and I seen you on Vlad once before. He told me don't even mention it, but I gotta ask you. You had said there wouldn't be a death row if I was out with Suge. And I'm like, I gotta ask him what he mean by that. Because from my knowledge, you and Suge was fucking with each other.
Yeah, but not before I went to prison.
When you go to prison?
I went to prison in 1991.
Okay. That was right at the beginning.
He wouldn't have had corrupt.
Right.
He wouldn't have never had corrupt. So he wouldn't have had a connection to us on the west side. Two, you wasn't gonna run through LA in Hollywood and all those parts where I was and where we was running a Compton Piru thing. That's what I mean. And I mean, and because we were strong. I was very strong at that time when I left. And you know what I mean? And unless we had an understanding, wasn't no LA nigga coming to Compton and bouncing up and down Compton Avenue and doing all that. You was gonna have Compton Bloods, Compton Crips, Compton, everybody like hollering. It wasn't no lot of niggas coming from there coming to LA doing that either, bro. It just wasn't. I'm sorry.
So it was basically respect the territory. You ain't finna come and just disrupt our spot like you think you own the shit.
The things I heard would have made me focus on him. And the person I was,
come on, man. I swear to God, that would have been, niggas would have had to accept the confrontation. And that's what you're looking for when you're out there gangbanging like that. That confrontation.
No, you gotta understand, bro. I was on a whole nother level. I was on a, it was.
Alright, y'all, let me know what y'all think, man. That was KEEFE D in the beginning saying how Big U had power in them streets in LA, and it was possible if he had been out, there wouldn't have been a death row. This was after, Big U had put out this statement, and of course, Mob James kind of disagreed. And y'all know, of course, Trey D did say that Big U could have stopped or made Suge meet some resistance had he been outside. But now this is KEEFE D, man, on his latest DJ Vlad interview, man, when he was asked that question, man, speaking on the situation, and he felt like, yeah, Big U did have power, man. Let me know what y'all think, man, if you feel like Big U really did have some juice to stop Death Row and the Bloods from moving and smashing on how they was moving in LA back in the 90s, man, when Big U was in prison, y'all. Let me know what y'all think, man. Once again, thanks for tuning in, y'all. Peace.